We'll start off with the match review. Spurs did lose, like I said, 3-2 to Bayern Munich at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Really good to see Harry Kane back in N17. He looked happy to be home with a smile beaming from his face. Eric Dyer as well. Obviously, there was not much made out of Eric Dyer from the stands, but there was a lot made out of Harry Kane, where he did that lap of honour at the end of the game. Songs throughout for him. Everyone was watching him very closely training. It was a bit of a... Yeah, it was a bit annoying that he didn't start the game, or we didn't see him for longer than 15 minutes, but I guess maybe it was a good thing because we didn't see him score against us.
He claimed that he shouldn't have been playing at all.
Right.
That's what he said after the game. He said that he's only been training one day, and if it was probably any other opponent, he wouldn't have played. But the fact that it was Tottenham, he really wanted to get out there and, have that goodbye with the fans, which he didn't get last season, and, play a bit because he wanted to, because of the opponent and how much it meant to him. You saw after the game as well. I don't know what was going on because they were giving him the armband or something. I wasn't quite sure what was going on because obviously Neuer's probably captain, right?
Yeah, but did Neuer finish the game?
He didn't finish the game, but he played.
Because when Harry Kane came on, he took the captain's armband and put it on. And he was the captain for those last 15 minutes.
I see. So he had the captain's
armband. He didn't want to lift the trophy.
Yeah, but usually it's the captain, not the captain who finishes the game.
Yeah, true.
So
maybe they thought because he's back at Tottenham, let him lift the trophy because it's his kind of game. It's his game.
But it was
he didn't want to do that, obviously, and I don't think he was involved in the trophy lift at all, to be honest.
No, I think I saw a picture. He's there off to the side, just clapping. He was there while they were lifting the trophy, but I don't think he was the one partaking in the trophy lift, which was a nice bit of classiness from Kane. I think he probably knew that the memes that would have come out of that moment.
He knew the memes, but he also knows that like nobody's going to hold it against him lifting the Malta Cup at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
There's no need to rub anything in. There's no need to create any unnecessary social media storm. That Twitter would have been ablaze last night of Kane lifting a trophy on our stadium if he would have done it. So I think it was a nice sign of respect. Didn't want to put too much. Kind of give anyone more reason to make fun of us than they need to. So I think that was a nice bit of respect from him, and obviously it was really nice to see him conversing with Sonny and all the other players. Romero came over too as well.
I swear we saw about 3 or 4 separate occasions when him and Sonny were just hugging each other in the tunnel, when they got on the pitch, when Sonny got subbed out as well. He goes over to Kane and hugs him, and then at the end of the game as well. So I mean, it clearly looked like they have been missing each other.
Well, they're the record holders for the amount of time they've linked up for goals in Premier League history. As a reason for that, they had a great connection on and off the pitch, and I'm sure they both miss it to a certain extent. Obviously, Kane's now left, and Sonny's now the captain, so a lot has changed. But when they see each other, I'm sure it's like they've never been away. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, like I said, it was just great to be there with Kane's return. Because actually, I wasn't actually supposed to go to the game yesterday, and I was supposed to be here for the watch along. And then I messaged Sim in the morning saying, I don't think I'm going to make the watch along. I got Josh King to do it because I was just desperate to get back there, and I was desperate to see Harry Kane for one last time and get the content for you guys as well, because I think that content definitely needed to be on the channel yesterday. And it looks like you guys have been enjoying it as well. So anyway, let's get into the game yesterday.
Well, before we do that, Chris has sent 10 footballs on TikTok.
Big up, Chris.
Paige Sacito has sent 12
Big up,
roses. And Paige as well has sent, 32 footballs.
Big up to Paige. Thank you very much.
Sounds like a lot. And also 21 roses as well on top of that. So a lot of roses and footballs coming from Paige Sacito on TikTok. Big up to you.
We are feeling the love today. But let's get into it now. 3-2. Game started really quickly, didn't it, yesterday? I mean, within 20 seconds, was it? 20, 30 seconds, Spurs are ahead. Chasing up the ball down the field. It looked like Kulusevski was supposed to be one-on-one, and then the Bayern defender got there first, and then we kind of just made the most out of a Bayern cock-up at the back, essentially, and Kulusevski was there.
I think Kim Min-jae was involved in a couple of mishaps in that one move. First of all, he was battling out with Kulusevski for a long ball. He then wins the header, but he doesn't get enough on it, and it falls to Brennan Johnson as opposed to his fellow Bayern defender. Brennan Johnson is on it like a flash, goes down the right-hand side. He then gets that ball across the face of goal. I think Kimmich and Kim Min-jae both getting a bit of a mix-up. It falls to Kulusevski, who finishes it. And his game started really well, and Tottenham started really brightly. And I think that wasn't the only moment. I think Sonny had a moment, a few moments later, where if a better touch from him, and he could have had a good chance on goal as well. So Tottenham were definitely on the front foot, mostly in transition. Obviously, Bayern were dominating possession, but Tottenham were looking bright. And I thought, Decky again in that false nine role was looking really effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt like for those first 5 minutes, we were knocking the ball around really well, and we looked confident on the ball. We were showing really nice touches. But I felt like once Bayern got control of the game, probably about 7 to 10 minutes into it, it pretty much was just one-way traffic for the rest of that half, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, they were I remember sitting here after 20 minutes saying, "Oh, this has been a lot better than the game in Korea, where we thought we were battered for 45 minutes." And then come half time, we were like, "This is probably worse than Korea," because the chances we were conceding was dime a dozen. It was so often. There's a big problem with set pieces and back posts, which we are going to do a video later on, so keep an eye out for that. But we do have a big problem here in terms of how often players are finding themselves free at the back post. Those set piece problems don't seem to be going away. The set pieces we conceded were so easy. It was as like they barely had to try Bayern Munich. But as well, the problem for me as well is they were dominating possession, but it wasn't like we were making it difficult for them to open us up. They were just carving us open. They'll fight. Tell and Gnabry were finding all sorts of joy down either wing. There was all sorts of space for them. We were kind of looking, and then also our threat diminished a bit. We kind of looked threatening on the break, but they were playing a super aggressive high line, and Brennan was pretty much anonymous. He wasn't getting down the right. Sonny was threatening to, but he needed a bit more support. The only one really who was actually threatening Bayern was Decky, and he had a couple of moments. He had that really good moment actually where Maddison takes a quick free kick, plays it to Decky on the left-hand side of the penalty area. He has a really great shot across the face of goal, and actually the referee gave a goal kick, but on the replay, Neuer gets a slight toe to it, and it was actually a really good save from Manuel Neuer, and it would have been a really good finish from Decky. And he was the only one I felt taking the game to Bayern, having a bit of quality, holding the ball up as well. But unfortunately, he didn't have the support with him. A lot of the time, he was isolated. And Bayern were all over us, and it was like they just had the more quality there. Which, when you're looking at the players we had on the pitch, I know, we were missing Romero van der Ven Udogie, who came on at half time. But apart from them, which is obviously a big miss, but I would have expected Sarr, Maddison to have a bit more influence of the game. I thought Basuma first 20 minutes was electric. I thought he was amazing. And then after about 20 minutes, he started getting caught on the ball. He started making mistakes. He started getting sloppy. And he started reverting to the Basuma that, was in the second half of last season.
Pretty much, and those 45 minutes encapsulated the whole of Basuma's season last season, in my opinion. Because like you say, in those first 10, 15, maybe even 20, he was brilliant. But then the second half of the first half, yeah, he was terrible. So it's hard to really put your finger on why this is happening. And it wasn't just Basuma for those last 20 minutes. I just felt like the passing was just so sloppy from everyone, because we were getting ourselves in such good positions in the midfield where we could create attacks. But every single time it was breaking down because of sloppy passes.
I don't think it was just sloppy. I think Bayern were pressing really aggressively, and they outpressed us. We were trying to do to them, but they did it better to us, unfortunately. Look, from what I've seen of Kompany's Bayern for the 2 games he played against them, he definitely seems to be getting into them, and they do seem impressive, and they seem like an exciting side. And Kompany's really showing what he's capable of doing with them, I think, at the moment. But obviously, still pre-season. We'll have to wait and see how he does, during the season. But he's starting to look. Maybe he's proving, that he's much better than, being relegated with Burnley potentially. But
I always thought that was the case, to be fair.
Yeah, and he seems to be proving it at the moment. We'll have to wait and see how he does. But Bayern definitely could have been 4 or 5 by half time. I know it was 3-1, but they had those set piece goals. They had again Vicario, second game in a row. He's made a mishap playing out the back, which is starting to be a bit of a concern for me in terms of he's playing these blind passes, putting players in trouble, and it's cost us a few goals. I really hope he sorts that out. When in 8 days' time. And in open play, was still conceding a high volume of chances. And if it wasn't for some poor finishing from Gnabry, I know he got one on the day, but he had some other really promising opportunities. Muller as well. I think Musiala forced a couple of saves out of Vicario. They were on top of us for a good 25 minutes of that half, and we pretty much didn't have an answer to it.
Yeah, we spoke about the Vicario playing out the back out in Korea when he did make that mistake, and you were alluding to maybe part of the fact was because Spence was receiving the ball maybe on the wrong side, and he wasn't completely comfortable receiving the ball in that moment. What was the situation yesterday just because Vicario was just playing sloppy out the back?
Well, he played it to this time was Basuma, and he played it to Basuma. Basuma's caught on his heels. He gets robbed by I think it was Musiala, and then no one else is close to him. I think a couple of problems from watching it back. I think no one's close enough to Basuma to link up the play with him. So Basuma's taking it under pressure, and he didn't have a quick option, which he needs. Albeit he has the ability to turn and hold off a player as well by himself. But I think Vicario did him no favours. I think Vicario played the ball hurriedly, and put him under pressure needlessly, in my opinion. And I think his decision making on the ball needs to be better, because those last decisions he's made are really poor. And I think Vicario, as much as I love him and I think he's done brilliant, when it comes to the ball at his feet, I think he's much better than obviously what we used to have in Lloris, but he's still got a long way to go when it comes to being, for me, comparable to some of the top keepers in the league like Raya, Alisson, Ederson. I think they're much better with the ball at their feet than Vicario is, and he needs work.
I think where he can compare, and maybe he's better at some of them, is his shot stopping, because I think we saw that yesterday as well, because he did keep a number of shots out where maybe they did look destined to the back. Now, even the goal that they did score, I thought a really good save was in there as well from Vicario. I think it was Upamecano's goal, the first goal. Really good save, but then obviously did fall to Upamecano at the back post. But then a number of saves after that where he really kept us in it at times in the first half. So I think where he does stack up against the rest is that shot stopping, but he needs to be better on the ball for sure.
I've got no problem with his shot stopping. I think he's a really good keeper. He had a brilliant first season. But this is modern day football in 2024. Most top keepers are very good with the ball at their feet, especially how we want to play, which is playing out the back, building up from the goalkeeper, playing it short. And he can't afford to make these kind of mistakes. And look, to be fair, we have seen Alisson and Ederson make these mistakes as well. So Vicario's not the only one to do it, and he won't be the last as well. But I'm just looking at his technique when he passes the ball. And, Ederson and Raya and Onana and Alisson, I just feel like when they're passing the ball, they're like outfielders when they're passing it. I don't get that that technique from
Vicario.
Vicario.
They look confident, right? They look confident when they're on the ball. They look assured. They look in control. Vicario always looks a bit awkward when he's on the ball.
Yeah, and he needs to work on that. He needs to work on that, and obviously it cost us another goal. We then conceded another one just for half time with from Muller, which I thought apart from the problems which we'll get about set pieces, you just take a screenshot of that goal.
And boy, have you taken some screenshots.
Which we'll get into them. We'll get into those screenshots later. But we have a wall of 4 players, right? And we're outnumbered in the middle, 6 players to 4. I mean, who is doing these? Like, who is setting us up from set pieces? Is there a plan here? Because how can you leave yourself 6 to 4 outnumbered in the penalty area? It's ridiculous. You're asking to concede. It's madness.
Absolutely. There's 2 spare men at the back post every single time. And, how are you leaving Thomas Muller free at the back post? Like one of the best headers of the ball, one of those clinical players that we've seen in our lifetime. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And also, in the build-up to that goal, I thought Dragusin got absolutely done, didn't he? Was it by Matthias Tell?
I think it was, Matthias Tell. Although I was watching the replay and there didn't seem to be too much contact with the foul. I think Tell bought it, but he absolutely rinsed him, and he got the wrong side of him. I think Dragusin ended up getting booked in that challenge as well. So I thought he had his struggles at times. Dragusin. I thought Davis is definitely as well. I thought he was dominated in the air a lot, Davis, and he struggled to really contain the Bayern back line. But in more positive, obviously 3-1 down at half time, but made some changes at the break, and I thought it really positively impacted the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So the changes that we did make was Bentancur came on, Werner came on, Udogie came on, Skip came on, Bergvall, Romero, Archie Gray, Van der Ven all came on. Bissouma, Sarge, Dragoshin, Davies, Porro, Maddison, Brennan and Spence all went off, and I thought Spence looked completely awkward on that side. By the way, I thought he had some good moments on the ball, beating his man and charging forward. But for the most part, I thought he got caught out time and time again down that side from a defensive standpoint. But in terms of the second half, it was really good to see Rodrigo Bentancur and Lucas Bergvall in that centre of the midfield together. I thought Rodrigo Bentancur played in that sixth role, and I thought he was commanding, he was composed, he was pressing the hell out of that Bayern midfield, and that looked like the Bentancur of maybe pre-injury.
Yeah, and he really looking back to his best. And what I really liked about him, as opposed to Bissouma, who had some really good moments, but then was getting caught on the ball. Bentancur was so aggressive. He won the ball back so many times in the centre of the park. But when he got it, his passing looked crisp. He looked sharp. He was getting the ball forward. He was progressing the ball. He was doing little 1-2s. Yes, he didn't have maybe these ball-carrying moments of like what Bissouma had in the first 20 minutes, where he's gliding past 2 or 3 players. But what he did was sometimes even more effective, just getting the ball quickly, making sure that his passing is accurate. And he actually seemed to cover a lot of ground. And now one of my biggest criticisms of Bentancur last season, especially when he was getting back to full fitness, was he just seemed to lack that ability to cover the ground that he used to be able to, especially when he was playing under Conte, when he was playing that double pivot with Højbjerg. He used to be able to just cover so much ground. And he was definitely lacking in that, especially later in the season. Last season, he was definitely seemed to still be getting up to speed with things, but he definitely looked so much sharper yesterday. He was dominating a lot of areas of the pitch. He was getting close to the Bayern players. He was winning the ball back countless amount of times, and it was a breath of fresh air watching him in the six. And I wonder if that's where Ange is seeing him for next season. Is he competition for Bissouma? Maybe is that why the talk about a number 6 coming in is quieting down? Do we see Bentancur and Bissouma being enough cover there, with maybe Gray there as well, potentially? We know when Bentancur was at his best, and we know when he's at the top of his game, he's got more than enough quality to play that role. It was just last season, it was a difficult season for him, and he had a few injuries. He was come back from injury, then had another injury, and he clearly wasn't at his fittest. But if he's going to be in the form that he was in that second 45, maybe there's a reason we haven't really gone for a 6.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. But I was definitely very impressed with Bentancur, and who else? It was so good to see Cuti Romero back in that side. It really was. I felt like once we made these changes, we just looked so much more in control. We weren't getting absolutely pressed into oblivion. I thought we were the ones, doing really good pressing. Cuti Romero, he does so much of that work that maybe goes unnoticed a little bit, with those little step outs into the midfield, the little blocking of those passing lanes, being really aggressive. And I think he was probably my standout player in that second half.
Cuti? Yeah, I thought he was pretty good when he came back. He was a breath of fresh air. He was so combative. I love that moment at near the end of the game when he's backing up Mikey Moore, and there was a little scuffle down the other end of the pitch. He runs the length of the pitch to get involved and make sure that he's backing up his teammate. That's the kind of stuff I love from Cuti. And I think we saw a big difference on the ball from the first half to the second half. Dragoshin compared to Romero. When Dragoshin gets the ball, he doesn't make a quick decision. He doesn't make a clever pass. He's either playing it safe, or a lot of the time he's losing the ball. But Romero, when he gets the ball, he's already thinking about what to do with it next. He's usually playing a clever pass forward. He's not scared to play it into midfield. He knows he's got the ability and the quality to pick out a player in midfield as well. It was really great getting him back involved. Him, Van der Ven, and Udogie as well. Udogie seemed to be really getting sharp. He looked really good, actually, Udogie. I thought he was charging forward like he used to do. He was looking confident. He was getting in really good positions. So it was really great watching them back on the pitch, because we haven't seen them on the pitch for all the pre-season. So just in time, I would say. Yeah,
we looked a lot more settled, didn't we, when the back line was there. So maybe, look, I had a lot of complaints after the first half, and maybe we've had a lot of complaints about the whole of pre-season, about how many goals we're shipping, how easy it looks for teams to attack against us. But when we did have that first choice defence on, we didn't look that easy to maybe penetrate.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And and Bergvall came on. I thought he was a shining light again. His pressing, he's so aggressive. He's such a young player, yet physically, he's really goes toe to toe with every opponent he's come up against. And it's no surprise the goal we got came from a good high pressing moment from Bergvall, pinching it off, I think, Conrad Lima, who's, a big, strong defensive midfielder who, he probably physically gets the better of a lot of other midfielders. Yeah, he's come up against Bergvall, he picks his pocket, and then not only does he do that, but he has the presence of mind to play an inch-perfect pass through to Decky, who's able to slot it home first time. And Bergvall, I thought, was really striking the stuff yet again, and I think we've obviously been impressed with on the ball. He looks silky and, he's got quality. But I think his off-the-ball ability has really impressed me. And that's what really convinces me that he can really make an impact in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And no matter what players you put in front of him in terms of opposition, he just seems to pass the test every time, doesn't he? And he's never played against this calibre of opposition before. He's been in the Swedish league. He's had, one cap for Sweden or something before, against nobody of note, really. And in this pre-season, he's probably had his biggest test so far, and he's passed with flying colours every single time. So this tells me, I keep bringing it back to this moment. And when I was talking about that pre-season with Dele Alli playing against Real Madrid, this does have shades of that, I'm telling you. And I feel like he's going to fly into this season. I really believe that.
Yeah, and he's looking so great. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the Premier League.
He has to start against Leicester. I don't see a reason why not.
Dele Alli didn't start that season.
Yeah.
He had to come off the bench a few times before establishing himself. So, look, Ange's got to make that decision. I reckon Ange will persist with Maddison for now, and then use Bergvall on the bench. But I can definitely understand the clamour for Bergvall to start 100%. Like, he's the form player right now, and if you're going off merit, you can definitely argue Bergvall deserves it.
I said to you on the fan show yesterday, if it was up to me, the midfield I'd start would be Bentancur, Kulusevski, and Bergvall in the three. Would you go for the same, or would you go for someone different?
I think, considering it's Leicester, I think I would go for Bentancur in the 6. I think I would go with Maddison next to Decky in a 2.
So Bergvall on the bench, yeah.
Bergvall starting on the bench just for the first game. I'm loving Bergvall, but I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I think Maddison's a senior player. He's a vice captain, and I don't want to send a message to. I kind of do want to tell Maddison to up his game. So maybe dropping him for the first game would send that message out. But also, I don't want to disrespect him. I don't think he's been that bad where, he has to be dropped. I think he's still been decent. And I feel like him next to Decky should have enough in the middle to combat what Leicester are doing.
Is it disrespectful, though, to put Maddison on the bench when you've got, the midfield roster that we do have? Because we've got quality.
I know, but just to start the season, I want to tell Maddison, look, as much as we've got some really good young players here, you're still my main guy, and I trust you. And starting that, and maybe that would give him the confidence to up his game. So that's why I would, and he's still the vice captain, so that's why I would start him. But if that doesn't help him up his game, he'll have to come out of the team.
Archie Gray at right back, I thought he handled himself a lot better than he did maybe in the number 6 against Bayern. Maybe there was a lot of circumstances out in Korea, the humidity, how long they've been out there, and how much it maybe saps and takes it out of you. So there's something to take into account for Archie Gray's performance out in Korea for that Bayern game. But I just felt like he just looked so more comfortable at right back. Maybe not having that pressure of being one of the most important positions in the team in the number 6 in the Ange system. I thought at right back he really flourished.
Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought initially for the first 10 minutes or so, he was getting caught a bit. He was losing the ball a bit too easily, and he seemed a bit overawed by it. But he did settle down into the game, and once he did, he was showing off his quick feet. He was playing these progressive passes. He was linking up with Mikey Moore, and he definitely started to get a lot more confident. So I think, yes, there were definitely some moments where, he definitely showed his age. But I thought once he was able to settle into the game and really grow into that position, I thought he did really well, and he started to show, that quality that we've seen all the pre-season.
Yeah, and then obviously in the latter stage of the game, with about 25 minutes to go, Mikey Moore comes on the right-hand side, and I thought he showed flashes of maybe what he can bring to this team, and especially against a Bayern Munich team, a very good Bayern Munich team that was on the pitch yesterday. I thought he handled himself quite well, Mikey Moore.
Yeah, there was definitely, he definitely wasn't shy, was he? Getting into altercation with Kingsley Coman. They were butting heads at one point.
Nice to see Romero completely run in, step in there and support Mikey.
100%. And he had some moments as well. He had that moment where he gets himself free down the right-hand side and he puts that ball across the face of goal, which the keeper gobbles up. And
he kept winning, getting there first. And he
was, Decky was there up against Dyer and he didn't get any joy. And then Mikey Moore went out there and was starting to get a bit more joy out of Eric Dyer. I think he ended up getting Dyer booked at one point as well. So I think he did, for his 17-year-old, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Mikey Moore.
Happy birthday, Mikey. Our star boy.
I think he did really well against a tough opponent. So credit to him.
And then Lancashire for the last 10 minutes. I thought he handled himself well as well. Maybe didn't see as much of the ball as he would have liked. He was only on the pitch for 10 minutes. But what I liked about Lancashire is the movement and the runs that he was making, because he was making space for himself that maybe we didn't make the most out of.
Yeah, and there were definitely some occasions where he could have been found. And I think as well, he came on at the same time as Kane as well. So there was a little moment there where people are saying he was kind of passing the torch over. So
well, they kind of like clapped hands, didn't they? And that was maybe what people are saying, like passing over the baton there.
Yeah, that was a nice moment. So look, he didn't see much of the ball, but I wonder, with Scarlett being left out, Valise has now gone out on loan. I do wonder if that means Lancashire's going to be staying here now or not. Andrew's got to make a decision. Obviously, we've got Solanke in. Richarlison's confirmed staying as well, so he would be playing third choice. But is that a role, if he's still going to get enough game time, maybe in Europa League and stuff, third choice, there's not going to be that much pressure on him. When he does come on, he's just going to have, he's just probably going to be told, look, try and get us a goal, probably when we're chasing games and stuff like that, or when we're winning 2 or 3-0, he comes on. There's one way of saying it could hamper his development, but also if he gets enough game time, it could really help him. Yeah.
Look, I think Scarlett, that decision to leave Scarlett out of the squad completely, unless there's an injury that we don't know about, I feel that means, he's about to go out the door on loan. That's what I feel like. Lo Celso wasn't in the squad as well, and that's probably for a similar reason. He's probably about to go to Betis or Villa, whoever it may be. But the players that didn't get any minutes yesterday, Alfie Devine, Jamie Donnelly, and Manor Solomon. Manor Solomon, again, he's supposed to be one of the senior players in the team, or definitely part of the first team. And that's 3 games in a row now, 2 out in Korea and 1 here against Bayern Munich, where he hasn't seen a minute.
And it's one thing being a youth player like Donnelly or Scarlett and being left out, but when you're a senior player, you've come in to be part of the first team and you're not getting any minutes in pre-season whatsoever. I mean, the writing's on the wall for me in terms of our plans for him at the moment. I don't think he's going to be here this season. And it might take a deadline day move or something when a team's desperate. I wouldn't be surprised, but I just can't see him being involved at the moment.
I saw Paul O'Keefe talking about this on Twitter, saying, what's going on with Solomon? Why is he not seeing any minutes? Are they letting him go? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, they are letting him go. And they feel like, he says that Spurs feel like he's lost a lot since coming back from injuries in terms of his explosiveness. I can't remember the actual terms he used. And he said they're not willing to give him the minutes to get back up to full speed, and they want to see him out on loan.
That's really sad to hear. Obviously, whenever a player's had a long-term injury, that's probably the hardest time in their careers, a lot of them, especially when you saw with Bentancur how it can affect a player when they come back. And it's sad to hear that he's lost a lot with his injury. It happens to a lot of players. Not to say you can't get it back, but sounds like, and maybe that's why we made that decision with Werner to get him on loan, because we looked at Solomon and we thought, he's not going to be ready for the new season, so we need another player there. And maybe getting Werner on loan is a view of maybe taking a second look at Solomon once he goes out on loan as well.
But in my opinion, that's what pre-season's for, like to get the players up to scratch. And if you're not going to give him minutes in pre-season, then how do you expect him to get,
Well, he's got to do it on the training ground.
Yeah, that's also true.
In the gym, and he's that, I agree. That's what pre-season's for, but we've got Son, we've got Werner. Where are the minutes coming? Where's he going to play? Same with Donnelly. Now that Doggy's back, where's he going to play now?
And what's the situation we're moving on to what you say about Donnelly and Alfie Devine, because Alfie Devine's been one of the shining lights in pre-season. I think he's been brilliant every time he stepped onto the pitch.
He was stretched off to come on when Bergvall had that little thing with his choking incident. But then obviously he turned out to be okay. So
do you feel like both of them are going to go out on loan?
I think so. That's probably best, I would say, at the moment. Devine, we've got so many midfielders here. Skip is still here at the moment, and who by the way, we didn't mention, I thought had a great second half.
I thought he grew into it. I thought, like, with Ollie Skip, he took a while to grow into it. I thought he was very shaky at the start. But yeah, he definitely grew into it, that's for sure.
So I don't see a real natural place for Devine right now, especially with Bergvall playing as he is. And then Donnelly, obviously he's been playing at left back, but he hasn't really had any minutes in his real position, which is, in midfield or maybe in part as a front three. And I think that's where he sees himself. And I don't think he wants to be playing the season at left back. I don't think we want him to be playing left back, which is why we've been giving Spence those minutes at the moment, and now Doggy's back. So unless we're seeing him getting minutes, which we haven't, I think he has to go out on loan to just to help his development.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with that. But that is your match review. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section.